Okay, a very quick and dirty, unscripted Workbench journal as I return into my winter schedule of hobby projects after my summer recess, as it were. So I've cleared off the workbench. This was absolutely cluttered, and I've spent some time trying to remember what I was doing at the start of the summer before I had my bit of pause in my hobbies. So where to start? Okay, we'll start with the model railway stuff first of all, as this is what I am just actually working on at the moment, which is these timber wagons for my sawmill project that I'm doing for my railway layout. Now, what I've got is I've already just worked on wagons carrying the logs into the timber mill. And what I've got now is these little high-sided wagons, which are absolutely ideal for carrying the end product of the sawmill, these planks for construction, out of the sawmill on my line. So I've got a nice set of wagons going in and out of the sawmill. And I had to think of a way to make these plank loads so that they were easy to put in and take out of the wagons like that. And I came up with a simple way of doing it and a slightly more fiddly way of doing it here as a bit of an experimentation. And I'll just show you quickly how all this works. If I can, yeah, there we go. Got that one out as well. Now, the simple way, and it is very simple, I've got a block of foam board there, cut to size, and on top of it, I managed to find, let's see if I can get that. Here we go. This styrene textured modelling material, which is great. I've used it for roofing before. As you can see, it's got this nice texture on it, and I thought, oh, that cut to size, that looks like almost like it is planking. So that was very easy. Just cut the size, glued it onto the foam board here, and Bob's your uncle, I have a load of planks for my wagon. Okay, so that was a simple way of doing it. The slightly more fiddly way of doing it, which is just one stage up really. Again, a block of padding material here so it fits into the well of this wagon. And on top of that, I glued these strips of styrene to make the planks. Now, I kind of prefer this method of doing it because the individual planks here have got nice gaps in between them, so it looks a bit more realistic, I think, than the simpler version. But I won't know until I've painted these up. So this is kind of like in the midst of experimentation at the moment to find out which of these methods is the best. I'm also not sure about the way that I've done this, where it fits flush into the wagon like this. You can see these Japanese wagons have this higher end pieces to the wagons, and I might do the planks in almost like a pyramid arrangement. I don't know yet. It's all experimentation, but that's what I'm working on with these at the moment. And related to that, still on the sawmill project, N-gauge model railway sawmill project, I'm trying to make the machinery for the sawmill. I came across this model, or actually it was sent to me by someone who read my blog, so this is very nice. He found someone who made a complete sawmill model in 3D that you could download. So I tried it out on my 3D printer. I think I'm pushing it really, to be perfectly honest, with my FDM printer. It's a FlashForge Adventurer 3. Most of these smaller models these days, people like to do them with those newfangled resin printers because you get a higher resolution. I'm really kind of like on the edge here, on the edge of what's acceptable quality here. I'm a bit up in the air about whether I like this. Having said that, once it's painted up and put in place, it might look perfectly acceptable. But I have asked my brother, who has a resin printer, if he'll do a test output of this model. And what this is it's called a debarking machine. You've got these like what would you call them? Chains here that pull the logs through the centre bit, which really sort of like just strips the bark off the trees. Here's one of my model logs that I built, and these actually go on this little, what would you call it? I'm not really sure. Anyway, it pushes it through, you know, like this, through the debarking machine. There, like that. That's how it'll look on the site once it's all painted up. And of course, the end product that comes out the other end is a stripped log. Okay, so that's that. A bit of experimentation, unsure about this one. See what my brother says. In the way of modelling, one of the major models that I was working on was this prop gun for a photographic diorama that I'm making up for a 1940s noir detective. I'm doing a little series of ornaments that he would have on his desk, and this is going to sit with a box of shells and a smoking cigarette and things like that, and a glass of whiskey, all that sort of thing, and then I'll take a nice photograph of it. So it's a prop, really. 3D printed model, which I got off Thingiverse, I want to say. I think it was Thingiverse. Anyway, I've had to modify it a bit in the way of size, and I've also changed it so that it will accept these real wood grips, which are nicer than the plastic 3D things that didn't look very realistic at all. Now, the point with this bit, the bit that I'm at, that's held everything up with this model, is I've got to think of a good way of fixing the cylinder in here. I want to paint it as a two-piece. It was really meant, I think, to be put all together as a one-piece and then painted completely as it was. But because I want to include brass painted shells in the cylinder, I want to paint it as a two-piece, so I'm painting this separately. But then it makes it a bit difficult because I've got to think of a way of getting this all together properly. And what I've decided so far is to drill an axle piece right through the cylinder, as the real gun would be, in fact, because it fits on this crank arm like that, and that slides out the cylinder like the real thing. But this was all just meant to be glued together as a one-piece thing. I want to be able to put an axle, kind of like, or something like this, a rod through there, so it'll all hold together. So that's the bit I'm at the moment. It's just drilling through here to fit all this together properly. Oh, right, faster. Next bit. This is one of those little things that I get, and you will get as a modeler. Your wife or friends ask you to repair something. My wife bought this handmade glass ornament that we had hung in a bathroom. Unfortunately, this bit, the chain bit, gave way, fell off the wall and shattered into pieces. Now, I've already done most of the repair work. And not a bad job. I'm quite pleased with it, which I had to glue the fins back on because these all snapped off. Unfortunately, the bottom fin, this bit that snapped off at the bottom just completely disappeared. Don't know where it went at all, so I'm having to remake this bit by using a bit of good old Milliput modelling putty. So I've just put it roughly on there at the moment. It's dried absolutely solid, so I can sand this now and hopefully I can match it up with the rest of the fins on there. Job done. Not a little job for the wife. She's very much into these little signs which go in her garden, on the garden wall, and I thought I'd do this one for her. I don't think it needs any explanation, and I'm going to paint it as if it's one of those cast iron signs, 3D printed on my printer. It turned out really, really nice, and I'm going to paint it as if it's a gloss enamel. So that's that. One of the other jobs I left from the beginning of the summer was my carving projects. Now, I'd just gotten into this. I'll show you the first one actually I did. This was the very first one I did, these tree spirits. And I had no idea what I was doing with this. I just, it's very, now I look at it, this is typical of what you do when you start a new hobby. You do the first one and you think at the time, well, that's not bad. But now I've done several of these. I look at this one and I think, oh, good God, that's very shoddy. But I've hung on to this one because it was the first one I did. And I always refer back to it, even if it's just to see how I would not do things in the future. And sure enough, I've progressed and they've got a little bit better over time. These were the last two that I did before I finished for the summer. And not too bad. I've just got to work out how I'm going to finish them. Talking about that, this is one I've already experimented with. And so far I've been using craft acrylics to give them a very sort of subtle, almost tint wash rather than an opaque painted finish. But I wanted to try something different. So I've actually used proper wood wood stain on this one. I'm not very good at this. I haven't done a lot of this, so my painting of the stain has probably been a little bit on sloppy side, but I don't think that looks too bad, and it seems to fit the theme of this particular carving quite nicely. I like the way it's got that rich, almost mahogany stain to it. So I'm quite pleased, but I need more practice. But with these ones, I'm going to go back to doing a wood stain for that. And I think, as I say, I think my carving has improved. Once I've got these painted, I'm going to move on to a different type of subject because I've kind of done these tree spirits to death now. Talking about which, I moved on to this little subject, which is a fairy mushroom. I'm kind of thinking along the line of Christmas ornaments and things that I can do for Christmas, maybe to sell on a car boot or a craft fair. And I've already painted one of these up, but I was really pleased with how my carvings come on and my detailing. You can see the little door in the mushroom here, and the faceted carving. I think my carving is starting to improve just a little bit. So that's all there. A little ornament for my desk, 3D printed anime thing. I just thought this was really cute. It's from the Ghibli movie My Friend Totoro, which you can't see much of the detail now because it's just been primed. It came off the 3D printer really well, didn't have to clean up too much, and I've just got to paint this. Oh, back onto the railway things. My brother sent me a few little wagons that he'd managed to pick up really cheaply on eBay, and the reason he picked them up cheaply was because someone sold them because they were broken, and I've got to see if I can repair these wagons. This is really going to test my modelling, because I've got to duplicate these guardrails on the front of this caboose onto the back of the caboose, which is missing. And these are really thin, and I'm really struggling to think of a way I can replicate these. I don't think 3D printing in this particular case is going to hack it. I might have to try and build something out of styrene. We'll see, but that's on my bench. Anyway, that's all the small bits and pieces, I think. So we'll go on to the stuff that's off the board, which but will be coming onto my workbench. The first of which is one of these blocks kits, and I've got this lovely one here, which I'm not even going to try and pronounce the name of this French fighter, but what kind of like attracted me to this one, this is of a Polish unit which fought for the French in the Battle of France at the beginning of the World War II. The poor old Poles got shoved out their country by the Germans. Their pilots and soldiers moved to France to continue fighting. Fantastic story. And this particular squadron in the French Air Force was made up of Poles. And ironically, these poor old guys not only got chucked out of their own country of Poland, went to France to continue fighting. And of course, as we all know, France surrendered. So the poor old Poles then moved on to Britain, where they continued fighting for the RAF. And I just think this is a lovely historic model and a really nice and fitting tribute to the brave Poles. So I've got that to do, and then this one, which you probably won't be able to make out what the heck's going on here, but this is my little sushi shop in all its bits and pieces. That's what it's supposed to look like when it's done. My daughter got me this for my Christmas, and I'm having to progress in very, very small parts as I do little parts of the sushi shop to put it all together into a nice diorama. I've got to continue on doing this, and the next bit I'll be working on is, of all things, this bike, which goes at the side of the store, I believe, somewhere. Yeah, there it is there. So this is a big job. It'll probably take me a couple of more months to actually do this. What else I've got? Just bear with me a second. Okay, last bit, and it's a couple of more models for my model railway. This time buildings. This one, well, you can see what it is. It's for my sawmill project. It's the little saw itself, and a vented timber shed. This is actually a laser cut model. So this is how it looks. And you can see how small it's probably going to turn out to be, with all these little fiddly parts here. I've got to put this together and paint it, so I'll be working on that for the next couple of weeks. And again, a little N-gauge store. I want to scratch build a lot of my buildings, but as I usually do, because I don't have a lot of experience with N-gauge modelling, I buy what I call a reference model. So I buy one model. So this is a model of a shop, and then from this I'll be able to design and scratch build the rest of my models. Same with the sawmill. This is like the central piece, if you will, and I'll scratch build the other models to go around it. Okay, that's it. That's what's on the workbench at the moment. Sorry if this was being a bit rushed and lots of ums and ers in this, because it's totally unscripted. But as you can see, there's a plethora of things going on. Obviously, a lot of this built up just before I had my summer break, and now that the winter started, I'm on my winter hobby schedule. I can hopefully work through some of this stuff, and hopefully you'll see some videos of the progress of these particular projects as it goes on. Thanks very much for watching. Sorry this was a bit of a shoddy video.